some of y'all might know of We the People Foundation, Tax Honesty Movement. Bob Schultz, I used to work on their websites for them. Okay? Told you I was in IT. I kind of cover a lot of ground there. I was working with him at the time that if you remember when Joe Bannister, they were trying to take his CPA's license. He was out in San Francisco, and they were going to hold his hearing at an offshore on a Coast Guard island. Okay, so it couldn't be seen by the public. Well, guess what I did? I emailed broadcast out to 70,000 people in San Francisco, told them immediately call your congressman, your representative, everybody in the city government, and you stop this. This has got to be public. Within 2 days, they had got hammered so much that they moved it back in short, and he did not lose his license. So these are the kinds of things. Now, people in the tax honesty movement, okay? We all know that we shouldn't be paying IRS. We know that. It's clear. It's not in the law. It's not in the law. There's no way they can prove it. They can't do it in any of these cases. We had everybody targeted, but these are the same people that we need on our side too. Okay, so we need to look at these other groups and say we need to come together. We find that common point. The right to travel is one. Okay, this is a simple one because everybody you run into has run into it. Not everybody's been hit by the IRS yet. Not everybody's been hit with Second Amendment issues. But those are another group. All of these groups, if you step back and take a higher level view, we're all trying to shoot for the exact same goal, sovereignty, regaining our rights back again. So this is why we have to look at these things very carefully. Now, I'm going to step up here real quick. Now, we know, and I'm going to step through some of these case facts. Like I said, this is the most boring part of the talk, but it's important that you recognize that there is validity in all of this. The Supreme Court and even lower courts have ruled in these cases over and over again. I'm going to step up to one right now that is a very interesting one. I'm going to read this through and then see if you get this one, and you may have heard it already. Okay? Personal liberty, which is guaranteed to every citizen under our Constitution and laws, consists of the right to locomotion, to go where one pleases and when, and to do that which may lead to one's business or pleasure only so far restrains as the rights of others may make it necessary for the welfare of all citizens. Okay? Once again, you can't infringe upon unalienable rights. Okay? Remember that. Okay? Any law which would place the keeping and safe conduct of another in the hands of even a conservator of the peace, unless for some breach of the peace committed in his presence or upon suspicion of felony, would be most oppressive and unjust and destroy all the rights which our Constitution guarantees. Now that is Pinkerton versus Verborg. Okay? That's from 1889. By the way, it's never been overturned. Okay? So in order to have probable cause to pull you over, they have to have one of two grounds. They have to have seen you in a act of breaching the peace, right? Which is defined, I do have this, a breach of the peace, defined as any act of molesting, interrupting, hindering, agitating, or arousing from a state of repose, or otherwise depriving inhabitants of the peace and quiet to which they are entitled. So you just disturb the peace. That's it. Okay? Now, if you're driving down the road 5 miles over the limit, that's not a breach of the peace. Okay? By any stretch of the term. The other one is they have to see you in the act of a felony. So I'm sorry, a traffic stop or running a red light is not a felony. I always play devil's advocate too. I'm going to bring up one that a lot of people have problems with. And there is means to fix this, but here's the deal. If you're driving down the road drunk, and you're weaving, but you haven't harmed anybody or their vehicle or any other piece of property, have you violated the law under the common law maxim? You haven't. So therefore, that is still not enough grounds for them to even pull you over. They have no probable cause. They have to see you in the commission of a felony or see you breaking the peace. Okay? So that's a good one. Now the next one is the freedom to travel throughout the United States has long been recognized as a basic right under the Constitution. This is all through all kinds of case sites. But this one right here comes from Williams versus Fears. That's the first time it appeared. Now, per the Supreme Court decision in the case of Crandall versus Nevada, very important case. Okay? Speed limits and other traffic control devices are simply an unlawful tax are imposed on travel, and thus unconstitutional. Now, Crandall involved a tax on travelers, okay, just so you know, which is in essence any kind of a speed limit, any kind of a traffic light violation, stop sign, anything along those lines. It fits right into the same thing. Not to mention, it is an extortion case. It's actually an extortion case because it violates the Federal Anti-Racketeering Act, the RICO Act. Okay? So any of these things in here because it is an organized effort to to undermine your rights. Okay? Now, if a police officer responds with an allegation, and this will always happen, that you're endangering public safety, a judge could say the same thing. Okay? Your next question should be right off the bat, whose? You know, who have I endangered? Okay? Because you have a right, also under one of your unalienable rights, to confront the witnesses against you. I'm sorry, that traffic light is not a witness. Okay? A stop sign is not a witness. Okay? And because he's biased, he's working for the other side, he can't be in there either. Okay? So therefore, it's a clear-cut matter that your rights are being violated once again. Okay? Now, as many of you might already know, there's a big difference between, and I run into this, and I have to apologize on this one all the time. I say, you know, the rights are all there, but there are certain things that we can't go away from. The Constitution has loopholes. It has problems. It's one of the best documents that's ever existed, but it's still got loopholes. When they gave Congress the right to regulate commerce, then they tell them, okay, well, there's two things. Actually, the right to regulate commerce and the General Welfare Clause. Okay? The General Welfare Clause basically says it has to affect every single one of you. Okay? Every single person in this country has to be affected before they can even do it. Now, I'm not a believer in the socialistic type of government, as you can obviously tell. So I would say to people, okay, if I take from someone else and give it to 3 or 4 people over here for whatever reason, it's wrong. Okay? Because I did not voluntarily give up this money, or whatever it may be. Or if they take my property for public use, that is not necessarily a good thing either. Okay? I go into some things in the Golden Banking, I believe it's on that that lecture I did, that talks about them coming in with an eminent domain, just like the Trans-Texas Corridor. Do you think that they're going to go in there and give somebody the fair market value on that property? Never. If they're lucky, they'll get 10 to 15 cents on the dollar. Okay? So that is a taking. That is a taking that is unconstitutional. It can't be done. Okay? And it has to be addressed in those cases, as I was saying, under Title 42, Section 1983, the United States Code. It's right there. Okay? Now, the next one I'm going to go into, it says, for while a citizen has the right to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon, that right does not extend to the use of the highways, either in whole or in part, as a place for private gain. This is where the loophole is. Once they got the right to regulate commerce, if you're a truck driver, if you're a taxi driver, or a bus driver, notice they all say driver, okay? If you're one of those and you're traveling in commerce, I'm sorry, they can probably make you have a driver's license, because that's what it's about. Okay, it was completely for that purpose. They've extended that out to include everyone. Now I'm going to sidestep again, okay? Kind of out of the realm of right to travel just for a second. One of the things is licensing is revenue. It's revenue. That's all it is. We know that really that's what police are out there for right now, is revenue generation. Okay? I'm going to show you another clear example of this, and like I said, this is outside of the right to travel. It has to do with a marriage license. Anybody in this room have a marriage license? Okay. I'm going to ask y'all a question. You're going to really love the answer to this one if you don't know it already. Do you know what the first marriage license was issued for? Somebody does know? Okay. Interracial marriage. It was created right after the Civil War, and the fees were so high that they thought that it would prohibit interracial marriage. They wouldn't be able to come up with the money. Now, I could be a hopeful romantic here, but the thing is, the two people who want to get married, they're going to find a way. Okay? They're going to find a way. They have to borrow from every family member they know. They're going to come up with the money to do that. So what happened is they all of a sudden started seeing massive amounts of revenue coming in. And they go, we found a gold mine here. Let's do this. Let's make everybody get a marriage license. They accomplished two things. Not only gave them that money coming in, but it gave something else. And I don't think they knew it about it at the time, but they started using it later on. And that was this. With a marriage license, a normal marriage, two people get together. Basically, it's a contract between you, your spouse, and God. That's it. Okay? So it's just this solemn connection. Now we've got a three-party contract, you, your spouse, and the state. Now the state has an absolute right to control that marriage. Okay? This is where they started working from, and this is their starting point. The next thing that happened was this. They came up with two Supreme Court rulings. The first one said marriage is a secular event only. Only. Okay? So it has no religious significance. It actually said that. The second one that came out, and this one's scary for anybody that's actually studied the Bible or has been in a church or two, because anybody that's read Genesis will catch this one. The state has absolute dominion over marriage and the products thereof. What is the product of marriage? Got it. So now they own your children. You've just turned them over. They've become slaves. So see where the marriage license? Something very simple that they were trying to, do to prohibit something that really shouldn't have been prohibited in the first place, and then turned around and made it a revenue generation and gave them control. And that's typically the steps that they take along every single path. So the right to travel, the driver's license, is exactly the same thing. So I'll go to the next one. I'm trying to keep it from being real dry. Okay. Therefore, it's a clear-cut legal matter if only our government and our public servants were either ignorant of the law or they're greedy for money and power. Okay? Now, the next one I'll read it. Personal liberty largely consists of the right of locomotion, to go when one pleases. The right of the citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon by horse-drawn carriage, wagon, or automobile is not a mere privilege which may be permitted or prohibited at will, but the common right which he has under the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Under this constitutional guarantee, one may, therefore, as under normal conditions, travel at his inclination along the public highways or in public places, and while conducting himself in an orderly and decent manner, neither interfering with nor disturbing another's rights, he shall be protected not only in his person, but in his safe conduct. Now that is out of 2nd Amjor. There's two bodies of law in the United States. You'll find one of them in the Corpus Juris Secundum. The other one is American Jurisprudence. This is straight out of American Jurisprudence. Now, complete freedom of the highways is so old and well-established a blessing that we've forgotten the days of the robber barons and toll roads. Here we go on the toll roads again. Here we go to the Trans-Texas Corridor. We're hitting it everywhere. And yet, under an act like this, arbitrarily administered, the highways may be completely monopolized. If through lack of interest the people submit, like we all have, then they may look to see the most sacred of their liberties taken from them one by more or less rapid encroachment. That's Robertson versus the Department of Works. Okay? Now remember the mention in this is the toll roads again. I touch on this. This includes the Trans-Texas Corridor. Now the next one also backs up your Fifth Amendment right that I mentioned in the constitutional traffic stop. Okay? Which we stand on the constitutional traffic stop defining the individual right to travel while not doing so in the act of commerce. And it says, we are of the opinion that there is a clear distinction on this particular between an individual and a corporation. Now, once again, here we go into corporations, and if anybody's seen the ballots going in for the amendment of the 1836 Republic of Texas Constitution, we've got something in here that would stop this. Okay? And that the corporation, has no right to refuse to submit its books and papers for examination on the suit of the state. The individual may stand upon his constitutional rights as a citizen. He's entitled to carry on his private business in his own way. Now, his power to contract is unlimited. He owes no duty to the state or to his neighbors to divulge his business or to open his doors to investigation. This is Fifth Amendment. This is the Fifth Amendment, not